next, he'll join us in a little while.
All right, good.
Okay.
So where do we want to start? Do we want to start with sewer or with water?
Well, before we begin, can we just go over what we discussed in our brainstorming session? Since then, I said the major thing that came out of there, Director Decker identified an issue with one of the legal bills, and that being all toward water and moved. And so now at this moment, the PDF attachment that you guys have does not reflect this change. I have it. That change has recently been made, but yes, it did shift about $20,000 of expenses over to the sewer side that were previously on the water side. So that change has been made. It's in the live copy that we're working with, but not with the PDF version that you have. Okay. We still do not have the CPI April to April at this point. I expect it in the coming week or so, but not yet. So we're still using the old CPI increase from February to February is what we're utilizing currently for the purposes of the current model. Okay. What else? We've discussed the addition of $20,000 additional for payroll. It's staff wages for the potential of a shift in potential or in position that will be discussed further. But like I said, that's the only thing that we've actually changed is added the additional $20,000. And then everything else are changes that we made during the brainstorming session, and that has to do with a lot of the expenses. So that's what I wanted to start off with first. The next piece that I wanted to cover our CIP. That's the major driver of our expenditure load for both sewer and water. Clemens, have you heard anything from Newt or SRT folks?
Yeah, I definitely did on the CIP side, and we should be able to see capital improvement programs on both sides very soon. In fact, I have a draft sewer CIP that we can. So I'm pretty certain we can get that included and looked at very soon. Water CIP is also, we're preparing that right now.
For the draft, currently for the version that you're looking at, all that we've done is we've used last year's CIP 5-year schedule, and we basically just shifted it down 1 year. So we're utilizing a number of $1.99 million for sewer CIP. For water CIP, we are utilizing $2.56 million. As I said, really what that is just a pro forma of just bringing the prior year forward. You and I both know that that's not the way that it will fall out, as far as we know what our number is going to be, and try to get it to fit into the overall operations model. So, but as I said, that's currently what we're doing in terms of placeholders for the draft.
Right.
Okay. So now with that, back to Director Decker's question, sewer or water. I would like to suggest starting with sewer, because it's the first one that we have on our page. You guys okay with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so let's start with the overall. Do you want me to do a share screen? A share screen?
Yes, that would be helpful.
Please.
Okay, so I'm actually going to bring up the live copy, but it's going to be, for the most part, consistent with what you guys have, outside of that change that we talked about for legal. Okay, so bring all this down. All right. Okay. So what we have here, so the draft, these are all of our live numbers. Any one particular area that we wanted to drill into, as you see, our bottom line, we're going into reserves close to $1 million. Okay.
Yeah, what we don't have is the present update on the financials. How much do we have in the bank?
Oh, sorry.
It
Well,
would be helpful to know how this impacts our financial situation, this
Okay.
budget.
Okay.
And then I think, the bottom number is really just unreliable yet due to the
Correct.
variables that Peter just mentioned.
Yes.
We don't know yet what the CIP numbers are going to look like, and we don't know yet what the sewer service charge income will be. Tim.
Oh, I noticed from this, you have a sheet, Peter, that shows the updated financial situation at the various banks, the levels of the cash that you have sitting in the bank.
Yes.
How is that for the month of the 15th of March?
Okay, so we have
There
in
you
the bank.
I see Jim coming in.
In the bank as of 3/31, $9.2 million. Clemens, if you're okay, I would like to send the balance sheet. So our monthly financial packet that will be to you by the end of this week. Are you okay if I send that to both you, Mr. Decker, and Jim?
Peter, can you hear me? I apologize. I had to finish that phone call, and then for some reason I had to copy and paste the invitation thing onto my header to get onto the meeting. So I never had. I've always had the yellow, the blue area where I normally hit to be admitted didn't work. I had to copy and paste it for some reason, and that caused me difficulty. So I apologize. Go ahead, Peter.
I just want to say for the meeting that Mr. Jim Harvey has now joined us at 2:10, and we are complete in the Finance Committee.
Yeah, Jim, we spent the first 10 minutes really just recapping our last meeting and saying what changes were made that came out of that meeting. The major one being the identification of legal charges that were all in the water fund, which should have been spread to the sewer fund. That was the major change that I'm currently working off of from the live version, and that was a big thing. Then we had a discussion quickly on the CIP for both sewer and water, the status of the engineers' 5-year CIP worksheet, which is still in process. We don't have a copy of it for our use today.
So when I said just now that we are looking at the situation as of the 15th of March in the finance department, meaning in the cash that is sitting in the bank or sitting with the California account, the LAIF. How much do we have sitting there now as of the 15th?
$4.6 million.
How much?
4.6.
And does that mean that all the payments have come in for the property taxes, including the water reliability charge?
So this is as of the end of March. No, there is still the expectation that more will come in before the end of the fiscal year.
And do we in our next financial presentation get that sheet that shows from month to month the balance in leave in the banks?
Yes. What the question that I had, the financial packet for the board meeting next Thursday for the balance sheet. Yes. Are you okay with me sending this over to both to all three of us?
Yes, I am.
Clemens?
I think it would really be useful.
So to clarify, what I'm hearing you ask, Peter, is you would want to share this with the committee at this point before we introduce it into the consent agenda?
Yes, yes, that is what I'm asking, and it's going to give our cash position as of 3/31.
Yeah, I think if it's fine with Peter, because the request came from him, then, you know, I'm okay with it as well.
I said,
If,
you guys.
if it's just shared with the committee for at this point, yes.
Okay, and I said the entire board will get it. I said the whole package is going to come to you very soon. But I said the balance sheet is ready, so I want to get that over to you. So here it is. I'm pressing send now.
Thank you.
And anyone in the public who will watch this can request this from info@mwsd.net.
Okay.
Thanks for adding that.
Thank you, guys.
Proceed.
Director Decker, I said, no, it's a good point in terms of, you know, we look at the numbers in a P&L overall cash flow, but no discussion of the cash is actually had until the end of this, and I haven't updated those numbers for the reserves. That's usually where the cash discussion comes into play, is at the end of the budget, basically with our discussion of our reserves, our current policy, and our current status toward completing what we would like to for the reserves.
I am saying this because it is important to know where we are starting from, which starting point we have versus the shortfalls that are occurring in both the cash flow statement for sewer as well as for water.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, so yeah, they should, you know, be traveling over the wire if they're not already to you by now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we're still here on the cash flow for the sewer enterprise fund. What we do not know yet is the sewer service charges. We know what the rate's going to be, but we do not have the calculation as of yet for the flow. So currently we've just added the rate increase, 9%.
9%.
Correct. But that's not going to be an accurate number because it has to do with the wet weather flow.
Right. Now I noticed that all other accounts has increased dramatically from 71 to 142. What is the reason for that?
Bear with me.
Are those the election expenses?
I believe you hit it right on.
Because those are $75,000. That makes up the difference.
Okay, so let's go here.
That's what we added. Yes.
Sewer operations. 75. So this is K27 and K20. Yep, it's K20. Yep, it's in here. It is the election expenses, $75,000.
Okay, and I see that the professional services have been adjusted accordingly, mostly because of the legal expense.
Correct.
Okay, Jim, do you have any questions about the sewer budget?
No, I don't.
Okay, so as we discussed, the major items that we have here in terms of changes, revenue-wise, we need to know our revenue point. Our cell tower lease, I'm confident with this number as far as the annual increase. The major change here is that it's all shifted from water to sewer now. Okay, right. So this is taking 100% of the revenue. Fees, they said these are relatively stagnant year in and year out. No real change there. Property tax, a slight 1% increase. We're not capturing ERAF in full. Okay. Waste collection. So once again, a nominal increase is what is expected. Personnel
is very conservative. If you look at the actual income expenditures to date, we have now received property taxes amounting to 473,519 versus our 275,000 budget.
Correct. And let me tell you, from there, ERAF represents $153,000.
And the number that you cited, Peter, is for both water and sewer combined?
Sorry, what Peter?
I mean, Peter Decker, you mentioned total?
The number that I just called out is for sewer only. We're talking about
Sewer only. Okay.
What was the number that you called out, sir?
We called out the number for sewer.
What did you say?
I said 473,519.
Okay, yeah. That's our figure too. Confirm, but I said, and the number, the ERAF component just for the sewer fund represents 153,365. So a delta of minus 153,365, 320. So from that standpoint, okay. Yeah, district right here. That's a big piece here. Yeah. What do you think, guys? I mean, so we've had the discussion before in the past.
Yeah, I think we should somewhat upwards.
Upwards?
Yes.
Okay. What I hear you say, Peter, is 320,000 is our 1% share, and everything above that was ERAF. So, yes. And we can confirm the same number for the water side, right?
Correct.
Just double checking.
Yes.
Which would indicate that our 277,000 prior budgeting could be increased, because the assumption is that the 1% share the properties are remaining, and we're going to get that money in the next fiscal year again.
9 minus 487. There's nothing that I've seen on the remittance advice which has said this type of money is not going to repeat. Outside of the ERAF pieces, which sorry.
What number were you suggesting we lift it to?
Well, what I'm actually thinking about is I'm thinking about a reason why this could decrease in the future. Yeah. If we're only looking at the 1%, I can't see a reason why it would decrease. The ERAF is what we subtract out, right?
Right.
And what is really the uncertainty. But if we are certain that we've gotten the 320,000 so far, I don't really see a reason why we shouldn't budget 320,000. Unless there is something that I'm overlooking, and this could decrease in the coming fiscal year, but I don't think so. If this is really true property tax, well, sometimes we see that they've been withholding from our current property tax more, right? So that ERAF plays into that as well.
Okay.
I think that was the reason.
I'm going to take a look at March of last year to see how it compares.
Okay. But we should definitely adjust that number upwards.
Okay. So this time last year, we had collected $290,000. So this is a significant increase from last year.
Wow.
I think sounds like we can safely up it to around $300,000.
Okay, so I said for this same time last year, we had only collected $290,000. Of that, ERAF represented
well, why don't we look at what
$147,000.
Why don't we look at what we collected at the fiscal year end?
Exactly.
At fiscal year end, okay. Well, I'm gonna
Because we're not
pull.
budgeting for the year, not until the 31st of March only.
I got you.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. So audit, let's go with the audit reports. Let's go with our audited number. So for June 30, 2020. At June 30, 2020, we had collected $814,000.
Water sewer combined?
Water and sewer combined, $407,000 a piece. And let me go back now and verify what that piece was for, which piece was ERAF. Okay. Okay, so $407,000, and what this came out to be. So ERAF here, ERAF here. Okay. So the $407,000, 147 of it was ERAF. So 407,337 minus 147,458, $259,000 per fund. So what does this tell us?
My internet connection was unstable. You said around 250,000?
$259,000. So what this is telling me right now is that I don't think we have this booked properly. I think some of this money needs to go to different buckets. This needs to be analyzed better. We've had a problem throughout the current fiscal year. Tracy can probably speak to this, but we've received checks from the county without the remittance advice, which tells us where does it belong? Does it belong to the GO bonds, or does it belong to the sewer service charges? Does it belong to the water reliability charge? We haven't always received that remittance with the check from the county.
Then I would like you to clarify, Clemens, with the county exactly what comes from where, so that we can have a realistic number in our budget.
Right, because, and like I said, I think this is going to be the big thing right now, is that I don't think we can really provide I don't think we can go up to a $320,000 for next fiscal year budget for property tax without knowing for what we have booked, 473,519 per fund, if any of this needs to move.
And subtracting the ERAF from it, you were already at less than what we currently budget.
Correct. Subtracting ERAF from it, yeah, we're at $320,000. So $320,000 compared to $259,000 at the end of the fiscal year last year doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right. So the question is if we can up that number at all.
But if you have,
Peter, what do you think?
If you show at the end of March 473,519, and you have an ERAF of 153,365, then the net would be 321,504.
Correct. But what I'm saying though is that compared to last year, it doesn't seem reasonable for it to increase that much. With
from 259 to 320.
Correct. With ERAF remaining, generally speaking, some reasonably close from year to year.
I think the uncertainty with ERAF is not only how much are we getting paid from the past, what was withheld on property taxes from past years, but we also have the uncertainty of what will be withheld from our next year's property taxes for ERAF purposes. So that's another uncertainty. Not only what are we getting back, but also what is being withheld.
But we are approaching this very conservatively because we are leaving out the ERAF.
Correct. See, so we're still here on this sheet, and for the committee, we're going from 275 to 277. And I said that 275 last year, if we pull out ERAF, we don't even make this number. Okay. So now for this year, the 277, 750, yes, from what we're currently looking at, I can see the argument to bring this up to a $300,000 to a $315,000 figure, but based on what I just said, as far as I'm not certain that this income is booked properly. I have a feeling that some of this needs to go into other accounts within the GL. So
why don't we just investigate?
Correct. I will. Both Tracy and Clemens do a good job of forwarding to me the remittance advice when we do get it. But like I said, we do have a question on a couple, maybe 2 or 3 checks from the county that did not contain the information that we're looking for. And so when I say remittance advice, the county sends over the check, but with the check, they have the breakout for what bucket that it belongs in, whether it be sewer service charges, water reliability charges, GO bonds, as well as just general property tax.
Right.
Okay. And I said, we do not have that yet. So I said, I will complete, there's a worksheet that I do on an annual basis that we use for the audit. We usually do it during the audit timeframe, but I will accelerate that and bring that up just to sort through what we have. And, we're gonna need to do it now for this purpose. So that'll happen.
Okay, so that's the income side. On the expense side, do we have a firm number from Sam as to what we're going to be charged?
Nobody here last. Well, sorry, Clemens, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have a budget that a draft budget that Sam has been working on, and those are the numbers that we can plug in right now.
What are those numbers? What are they?
Here we go. Let me show them.
They're already the numbers that are in the budget.
Correct. They should be on your packet. So if you go to the PDF, page 4, you'll see there in count 6910 and 6920. Those are the current numbers that we're working with.
Unfortunately, the budget was supposed to be approved by the SAM board for distribution last night, and that did not happen. So we will see if there is anything that changes to the numbers. There's no indication, but what I can say is we have some difficulties in the budget process at SAM.
I believe we had a fixed number for the monthly charge and the monthly sewer, but I'm presently not able to find that number. I have it here somewhere. Was it?
Do you have
153,232? Or what was the monthly charge? The monthly fixed charge previously that you based
for the general budget.
Okay, hold on. So you're still on this screen here. Here it is here, 6910 and 6920. This is what we have plugged in. SAM collections 331,973. I'll get a little bit bigger. 331,973 for collections. Operations 1,532,608. So collections on a monthly basis.
27,000.
Yes, 27,664 for O&M divided by 12. 127,717.
Okay, so let me get that number. It's 132,053 a month times 12. it should be 1.584 million plus 21,000.
No. I gave you the full year. Hold on. Let me give it to you. So collections on a monthly basis is 27,664. O&M is 1,532,608 divided by 12, 127,717. That's on a monthly basis.
The numbers that I have are 132,053 a month versus your 127,717, and my service charge is 21,179 versus your 27,664.
But are you using your those are this year's figures, correct?
This year's, yes.
Yes, that is this year. I'm giving you the proposed next year's.
So the proposed next year's are 127,717 and 27,664.
Correct.
So for a total of 155,381 a month.
Correct.
That compares to
153,232.
So exactly. So there's a $2,000 difference.
Correct.
We've gone up by $2,000 for now.
As it stands.
As it stands. Okay.
Okay. The other large component as it relates to SAM are the pass-through costs for the collection and the pumping system. So those are pass-through costs for repairs at the various lift stations. We've always budgeted $110,000, and we usually get right in there whenever those costs are typically capitalized each year.
Okay.
But yes, just in total, we budget about $2 million to go to SAM.
Right.
Out of our total budget, our total expenditure of $2.9 million. So, 2/3.
And this year, the capital improvement program for the sewer system is 1.993.
Yes, and that's what we had discussed. I said what that really represents is last year's worksheet pro forma over by eliminating the 2021 column and utilizing the 21-22 column with no edits.
Right. And those are still to come.
I'm sorry, what was that, Peter?
Those edits are still to come. You mean the CIP numbers are still to be announced, are they? Or are we taking this 1993 for the gospel?
That is that is a true statement. Yes, this number will be edited. And typically what happens is we look at our cash position, we look at our expected outcome from operations, and we try our best to capture what needs to be captured. But a lot of this comes from Pippin and his team, and just trying to come up with something that's reasonable and that we can swallow for a year.
Yeah.
But I said you have the balance sheet that I sent you a while back, and what you'll see there is that in our sewer capital reserve account we have $4 million. Sorry, Clement, you keep on going in and out. Are you there?
Yeah, and as compared to last year, we had $3.947 million on April the 30th, 2020.
Yeah. So that difference is accounted for with Leif. I don't think Clemens is in the room with us, or he may just be. I don't think he's on board.
I don't think he's on. No. Clemens, can you hear us?
Sorry, you're on mute, Clemens. Clemens, you're muted.
Clemens, you're on mute. Clemens, we can't hear you.
I think he's trying to call in what it looks like.
Clemens. Oh, he's got the phone. He's got a problem. He has a problem with his phone. Peter, while we're waiting for Clemens, did you watch this? I didn't watch the SAM meeting last night. I assume that it's going to be a complicated process getting that budget approved.
Yeah, it sounds
Anyway.
like I haven't read it either. I was concentrating on our budget rather than on the SAM budget.
They had verbally said it was okay. A couple of weeks ago at the last meeting, Catherine reported that they had approved it in theory. So I don't know, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm somewhat confused after the news that we don't have a final budget that we can use in our own budget. Now, Clement seems to be unmuted.
Yeah, but see,
I can't hear him.
Oh, he has a Zoom problem.
yeah, his internet's back though because he's not frozen. But
No.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Clemens.
I noticed that he is here on the phone, but the phone is muted as well.
Back in the good old days, we used to sit around a table and do this from various computers.
That will happen again soon. Have you had your shots, Peter?
No, I have not.
Oh,
But yeah, I look forward to that day.
we have. How about you, Peter Decker? You have, right?
Yes, I have them.
We're good, yeah.
And it's been more than 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but ours was a month and a half now.
Yeah. But especially when we talk about numbers, it makes it so much easier to be physically at a table and
Well, having the material in front of you.
all there.
Yeah, I think last year we had the, I think we had a built-in event. I believe this all kind of happened. I think we had our first meeting in person, and then it kind of shifted, and then we completed it over Zoom. So this year it's all Zoom. So hopefully next year we'll be able to get in person.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, should we hold for Clemens then?
Well, let's wait a few more minutes. He's working.
I think
I'm gonna oh,
There you
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
here now. Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my internet.
That's okay.
Well, okay, here I am by phone, and but I can see the screen and all of that. So.
Okay. Do you recall the last thing that you caught?
I'm sorry. What was that? The last thing that I.
Yeah, for our discussion, where we left off.
Oh, right now.
Yeah, we were discussing Sam in terms of the overall expenses. That's where I recall you kind of freezing.
Yeah, so I know we were at the SAM expenses and looking at the overall SAM expenses.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, and then we talked about the SAM budget not being quite firm yet, so those numbers are still up in the air. And then we went over to CIP, and we said those numbers are up in the air too, because we are going to get a final number. Is that correct? Or are we keeping that 199 number?
No, we're not going to keep the 199. This is really just a placeholder. On the SAM, on our CIP number. So we're going to develop a new CIP with full 5 years, with a year 1 that we would like to implement, and so we may restructure some of those projects.
Our CIP is has the SAM CIP built into it, correct?
No, it does not.
No, it does not. The SAM CIP is part of the general SAM budget. So it's in the SAM infrastructure portion is generally in the number that we just looked at. The what was it? We said it was a payment. Yeah, that 1.532, the 2122. That one exactly. That contains the infrastructure portion for the sewer authority mid-coast side.
Okay.
Yes, for our perspective, yes, we do not capture SAM's projected CIP in terms of for our CIP budget. We account for it, but we don't budget for it in that way. It's a separate piece.
So are we then done with the sewer budget so far? Waiting for 2 items, namely.
Yeah, but see, I think really it's in terms of discussion. I think that just so let's look at this. What I wanted to bring up is interest revenue. We had been doing so well. It's not really performing the way that it had in the past. So I think $40,000 is reasonable. Are you guys okay with that? But I'm reducing it, or we've reduced it $20,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
CIP here, connection fees, we're going to leave them flat. We're kind of seeing that play out. No real major pieces there. And then debt is just, that's steady. There's no, we don't have anything solid for any kind of debt restructuring as it pertains to the sewer side. So for the sewer side, I will show you what we have. We have iBank, we have half of the PNC, and that's it. Okay. Yeah. So what we have are the principal retirements here and our interest expense. And that's what we see over for our worksheet.
Okay.
Okay. So those are those figures there. Okay. All right. Yeah. Nothing should be done with debt. That's fine. Okay. Okay. So going to water. All right. Water sales. Okay. This is.
Can you show it a bit bigger, please?
Yes.
Zoom in a bit.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm going to go one more. Okay.
Okay, so now is my first question is, in our last meeting, we had an optimistic view of our increasing water sales. And this budget doesn't really reflect that, I think, because there's only a $4,000 difference. Where is our optimism for an increased water usage?
I think it's gone, Peter.
Oh?
Yes, because we have, I think, a new situation where we are where we see clearly now that the state will go through a drought and there will be water use restrictions at neighboring agencies. I expect that the state may come down.
Oh, wow.
With water use restrictions. So I'm anticipating that everybody this coming year will be very well aware of water usage and try to conserve. So I'm not sure if the optimism that we had, when we first looked at those numbers, is still true.
But Clemens, the water, the state, the possible state mandated water usages will not be a percentage demanded percentage decrease for us. It'll just be conservation methods. Our water use per customer is low as it is. We're not going to be asked to make that lower, correct?
Well, we don't know that. In the past, it was really a percentage reduction, which is unfair to the agencies like ours that were low users.
Yeah.
However, the water use restrictions are usually put in place for urban water systems, and small water systems like ours get a little bit more leeway and aren't really asked to conserve per se. But what I'm afraid of is that, you know, the message is probably going to be sent consistent at one point. I don't see that right now. I see that particularly the governor has been, you know, now declaring an emergency for the Russian River area, but not for entire California. I think there's a lot of politics involved right now. And as soon as those politics go away, I think we're going to see a more uniform, you know, blanketed water use restriction throughout the state.
Wow.
That's at least what we've had in the past. So I'm just going by what we had in the past. And while we may not have to reduce, you know, or essentially provide information to the state that we indeed reduced by 10% or so, I think it's really just the awareness of our customers and, you know, the efforts by everyone to save water that will probably just reduce our water sales in the coming fiscal year. So we may have had, you know, higher sales year this year with everybody being at home during the COVID period. But next year, the way things are going, I'm expecting a little bit of decrease now.
Kathy, can you make sure that they use their own vacuum cleaner or check on that? I've got to pick up my computer and go outside here. So I'm going to be walking outside here in a minute.
Yeah, sit outside. Oh, okay. And I've got some window walls for you guys. Bye.
Okay. Excuse me.
Yep. So I don't know what that really means, folks. This is just something that, you know, I want to share with the group. Because this,
oh, yeah.
you know, my perspective has changed a little bit on this number. We're talking about, you know, the anticipated water use for, you know, everything from July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022. And I think that's, so from that perspective right now, I think we're probably going to see a slight reduction in water use, water sales.
We've touched on the possibility of a rate increase, probably not before we could get this budget passed, but potentially next fiscal year that would actually impact 21-22. Should we discuss that any further, or are there any thoughts to that being a potential?
Committee?
I would think.
Could you repeat that, Peter? I'm sorry, I apologize. Could you repeat that, please?
Question being that, as someone said, that the anticipation is either status quo water sales, if not lower. So the other piece that we have not discussed is that we are not factoring in a water rate increase. We are at the top of our Prop 218 limit. We have not had a real discussion on potentially going through a water rate study that would impact fiscal year 21-22. I don't believe we'll have enough time to, if we were to say to do it, to get it in before this budget that we're working on is approved, but something that would be helpful for us during next fiscal year.
And I'm just going to add to that. So we did not raise the rates now for the water rates for the third year This would be the third year in a row that we do not increase our water rates. However, we implemented a new rate, the water system reliability charge. That's a significant charge. So our ratepayers have seen a significant rate increase overall past year. And that is why, staff isn't recommending to adjust the water rates at this time. But we point out that, the water rates, unlike the sewer rates, can be adjusted at any time during the year. So if we would see the need through this budget process or later in the year, a Prop 218 process could be activated. It usually takes around 4 months or so to complete a rate increase for us.
One thing that I would like us to look at, and just so you guys get an idea of what we're working with here, is here. So look at it from this perspective here. We have our operations, $2.2 million of expected income from operations. Of course, we know that this property tax may be higher, but we're losing about $40,000 of cell tower lease revenues here. So $2.2 million. So we're looking at a reduction in revenue. We're looking at an increase in costs. So we are covering operations by our operating revenue by $235,000. Okay, as we go down, our water system reliability charge does not cover our current CIP, and we've already discussed this is a placeholder, so that's not going to be impacted. The GO bond, this takes care of our GO bond, but it does not take care of our other long-term debt. So if you look at it from that perspective, we are running at about let's just pull this number. No, let's just net it out. Negative $1 million. So we'll say water system reliability charge covers our CIP. Okay. Everything else is going to be. So with that, we have a negative deficit of $13 million. Okay. So from that perspective,
$16, you mean?
Yes. 13,416.
Yes.
Negative.
Yeah.
Not terrible, but I said multiple years of this is going to be very hard for us to get away from. I said we're 3 years of no water rate increases. What we're really talking about is that we are leaving operations to management to figure out how to reduce. I think we do a pretty good job of it, but we are not keeping pace with our rates. So if there were to be an operational increase for whatever reason, we would be exposed because I said we've gone now 3 years without a water rate increase. We've decided as a district that we are going to focus on our capital infrastructure as opposed to operations in terms of how we structure our rates. So I want to say that to you guys just so that you guys know there's probably going to come a point now that we're talking about a major rate hike down the road. And we always talk about rate shock, but 3 years of no rate increase for operations, I don't see how we get away from that.
Can we go ahead? Can we go ahead and why don't we do a smaller rate increase now? At this point, anyway, I think it'd be better if we did it now or soon instead of putting it off. Wouldn't that be better?
I think we, as a finance committee, have to mention this in our next board meeting.
Yeah,
the full board to have their input, and for them to let us know what they think.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Peter. We have to bring this to the full board.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a fair suggestion. We have to talk about this issue with the full board. Again, staff's recommendation is going to be to hold off of a rate increase because we've seen such a significant impact to the community in the past year. One advantage of holding off would also be that we then could implement a water rate increase next year. And I believe we are not in the need for a sewer rate increase because we still have a Prop 218, 9% Prop 218 authorized the following year. So we would have essentially sewer and water rate increases staggered and offset again, and would be able to do 1 year water rate increase, next year sewer rate increase, and stagger those off.
Okay.
But that's just, a minor detail. The recommendation to not increase it at this point, and we all understand what Peter is saying, and that's important to hear. We are, we're not getting better. We're with every year, our rates are falling more and more behind on the operations. But de facto, the water system reliability charge, de facto, can be used to finance the CIP. So now operations doesn't have to, the water rates have to pay less for our capital improvement program. So that offset, I think, allows us currently to skip 1 more year of water rate increases.
But that being said, Clemens, the rate, Peter alluded to the fact that when we do have the increase, will it be a reasonable, still, if it's staggered, will the water increase be a reasonable increase and not astronomical?
I think it depends on what you think of reasonable, but what I'm very confident in is that we can catch up with, a multi-year increase, if it is 2 year or 3 years of water rate increases, and that below 10%, I'm very confident that we can catch up that way. And I'm hoping that it's, in the mid range, it's 5-6% and not, 8-9%.
That if it's mid 10, 5 or 6 or 7, it's still be lower than the adjacent district rate increases, or the rate increases throughout the state, probably.
I think we also have to consult
What, Peter?
our rate increase consultant to get some input as to what other districts are doing. But we can keep that for our next meeting.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. All right, guys.
So let's look at the engineering charges. You have the engineering charges, 120,000.
Yes.
You haven't changed those any. The last time we met in the committee, we talked about these charges looking on the low side because the SRT bill was already $232,000 for this year.
Correct. And that's what we're seeing play out as far as the majority of the costs are coded to CIP projects.
Yeah. But we have no number yet for the CIP for this year.
Where we are waiting on SRT to give us a new number for CIP.
Because then we can see how much of that, how much of those engineering charges went into the CIP.
I think that's the natural question that we need to relay back to them, because as it stands now, there is, in my opinion, a little bit too much guesswork to say what's operations and what's capital, because for us, they take the appearance of two separate, they're all captured in our budget, but we look at them independently, one being our operations side of things, which is, very, very important, but then it's still, the economic dollar is still going out the door when we pay SRT, regardless of if we capitalize it or if we don't. We're still capturing that expense. Money is really flowing out. But it just doesn't get captured that way in our P&L and our annual financials. So we need to figure out from them, of all of their costs, how much of it's going to be capital and how much of it's going to be operations. There have been years where it's been mainly operations. We've said something. Now the bills don't go down; they're just shifted now to CIP. So,
Yes.
you know, what are we really doing?
Well, as I clearly showed on the Excel spreadsheets that I presented in the last meeting, you can clearly see the difference between what we have here on paper in our budget and what the actual charges are.
Correct. Like I said, we've had years where we've seen that those numbers in terms of what we're looking at this year flip-flop. Not very much for CIP and more for operations. All right. Well, you know, if I were, that's how I would try to work it as well.
So Clemens, what is your comment?
And what on what particularly, Peter?
On the engineering specifically, on the engineering cost as projected in the budget to be 120,000, whereas our actual expenditure every year is more than double that. And at the present moment, it flips into the CIP cost. And that's kind of then difficult for us to know exactly where we are spending so much money on engineering. And on the other hand, if it increases a CIP that is very low, it kind of disappears into the CIP bucket.
Yeah, well, with all capital projects, whenever we plan for engineering costs. That's common practice. I think that the budget suggestion that we are making this year is proper. And I think there's always a 10%, around 10% engineering cost included in any of these projects. And we've been actually very good at doing this on the sewer side. And so it depends also a little bit on how the billing is structured to the consultant. So I think we're seeing a little bit of change here, and I actually welcome it because it is much more common practice. I understand that there is let me say this with there's a concern about transparency, but each project should actually come back to the board for approval. And there is also then, of course, documentation about, the engineering cost involved with coming forward with each project. So the board will get a chance to understand how much money we're spending on engineering for our capital projects. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
It does, yes.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. But I mean, Peter, Director Decker, to your point, we are accounting for it in the next year's budget. So for the current year, we had budgeted $220,000 for engineering. We are now reducing it by $100,000 because of just what we're seeing this year. So yes, the cost may be shifting, but in terms of our operational aspect of it, we are capturing what we really believe is going to be there. But like I said, we haven't had in-depth conversations with the folks over at SRT as far as what we can expect. Water quality engineering, that's really the main driver as opposed to just our general engineering. I said, when we get our bills, they'll tell us what they are for. And historically, it had been water quality engineering for various factors. But we're seeing that reduce. So what do you guys think? Should we?
Yeah, so we are going for water quality engineering account code 6230,
yep.
Down from 200,000 to 100,000.
Correct.
It has also a lot to do with our regulators and how reactionary we have to work with our regulators this very year.
So you think that this year we will have an easier time working with the regulators?
Well, we think we had a little bit an easier time, and that's reflected in the numbers. And I think that going forward, you know, I know also we are actually looking at a number of water quality capital projects right now.
Interesting.
So particularly upgrades to our Pillar Ridge treatment plant. So there may be a shift where some of the, you know, operations costs that we so far accounted for under operations actually could really fall in the capital arena. But
Pillar Ridge then?
I'm sorry, yes?
Most of it to Pillar Ridge.
Well, I know that in this coming fiscal year, there's going to be a little bit of focus on improvements at Pillar Ridge. Yes.
So that's a plus for us. Clemens, let me ask a question that I know a couple of years ago we had a problem with the regulators for whatever various reasons. Those problems are that was just as Peter came on the board, I think. Those problems are gone, correct?
Yes.
I don't want to know what the problems were. I just want to know that everything is smoothed over now with the regulators, correct?
Yes, it is running relatively smooth. I think I mentioned it changes a little bit with you know, how much attention the regulator puts on the district, and that has to do with their staff. There's high staff turnover at the State Water Resources Control Board. Right now, we, I think, are in very good hands and have a very easy and relaxed working relationship with them.
Good, okay, good.
Hope that answers your question.
It does answer my question, thank you.
Good.
Because, okay.
Okay. All right, Director Decker, you've been kind of guiding us so far. Any other line items you would like to drill into for operations?
I can share my Excel spreadsheet with you.
Okay, let me stop my share.
And what I don't understand in that spreadsheet is
Wait, let me turn up before you go on, Peter, let me turn up my volume. Before you go on, let me turn up my volume. Hold on a minute, buddy. I can't do it when you're, let me turn up my sound before you go onto your screen. Okay, now go ahead. Thank you. Okay.
When I look here at PARS, first of all, there is a trust administration fee for PARS. Then there is the US Bank PARS.
Yes.
That up till this year is $94,205 that we paid them so far.
Yes.
So when I look at those numbers and I compare them to the numbers that you project here in the budget, my number seems to be higher than yours. Why is that
okay. So what you're looking at, so this PARS fee, the 735 and 820 and 820, those are based on assets under account is what they charge us. This US Bank PARS, this is actually coming from our payroll. So
the numbers in the payroll, of which you gave us a copy, are lower than mine.
Let's see what we have here. So sewer, let's take a look here. So 8604. So are you looking at account 5850?
No, 49.
I'm looking at 5810, the CalPERS deferred plan, which I will come back to. And I was looking at 5850.
Yeah, 5810 is different. 5850 is, yeah, see this blip for column F right here, that had to do with, that's the agreement that was worked out with the general manager for retro pay as well as a small bonus. This is not going to repeat. This is going to be more down to the $9,000 figure. So I would agree that potentially it's low, but I did not account for this increase right here being the 15,966.
Wait, so the 15,966 is the bonus?
A portion of it.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me here. What I'm going to show you guys is two pieces.
It's also gonna be in later. How does it work, Peter? Meaning there's gonna be the payments are gonna stop earlier, right? Due to this, so the overall increase is actually less.
Correct. At some point, but no, that's not the case. You said the payment stopped for the employee contribution. The employer contributions won't stop.
That's right.
The employer will not stop.
Correct.
So the employer. So this is the employer contributions don't stop, but what they're doing in this case now is they don't benefit the employee. They benefit the entire fund.
The pool.
The pool, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So the district could.
I'm just concerned that our PARS number in the budget is too low.
I hear you, and you probably have a valid. Sorry, you have a valid point. What I'm accounting for is. All right, Peter, can we do another? Can we change the screen share?
Yes.
Okay, pull yours down. I'll start mine up again.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're back over here. So here's how we budget for our payroll. We have this worksheet here. It's pretty small. Let me make it bigger for you guys. What we have here is we budget our payroll based on the best information that we have. What we've done now, we've captured Clemens' new rate. We know that this will change sometime during the middle of next fiscal year, actually not the middle, but toward the end of next year's fiscal year. But the way that we budget all these figures is we know what our rate's going to be, and we know how PARS is charged. That PARS is charged off of, and this is kind of to your point for both PARS and CalPERS. CalPERS charges based on the total, okay? So you'll see here, we are taking 7% of this overall total wages. PARS, on the other hand, doesn't charge for the total. They only do for the regular pay, okay? So that's column C here. They don't capture all, let's say for the operators, this probably be a better example. Where you see CalPERS charges based on the 120, their full amount of pay. PARS is only charging based on regular earnings. So that's how that, but in terms of the overall number that we have for PARS, we're basing this based on what we actually project the amount to be. PARS will go up once we nail down COLA. This number will go up because, or possibly down. We don't know what the overall COLA increase is going to be. So to your point, Director Decker, is that we do the best we can based on the actual amounts that we have. It's not really a projection, but the figure that you're pulling up is more up to date because I said it captured Clemens's bump that took place in, I believe, the was that in Yeah, that was in
last
March.
month.
Yeah, that was in March.
The 21-22 budget.
Right.
If Clemens does, again, an excellent job as he did last year, then that bump will still appear.
Correct.
It needs to be in the budget.
Correct.
Well, there again, there's also the bump is exaggerated because the district elects to continue to pay the employer contribution based on prior finance committee requests. Peter, we could also stop the employer contribution at one point.
I don't know if you can.
You're saying that maybe a PARS?
I believe that could be. I don't know if we can say that. I don't know if that's the case. If PARS is saying there must be a some sort of qualifying event in order to stop the employer payments.
Clemens.
Well, when the contribution limit is reached, right?
Correct.
They should not be able to require us to continue to pay the employer rate because the contribution limit is reached.
That yes, that is the case.
We can check in with them maybe and
yeah, I think we
see
should
if
probably
that's
get
doable.
more clarity on what would have to happen in order for the employer contribution to stop. I got a feeling they're going to say that will not stop because I said, as you said, is this once we get to a certain point, it's not that it's the benefit of you, but it's to the benefit of all participants.
Clemens, Clemens, why are you talking about or asking about stopping the employer contribution?
So there's a limit that one can contribute to PARS, right? There's this now under the Public Employee Pension Reform Act. There's a defined limit that's very similar to the contribution limits, for example, to Social Security.
Okay.
And so at one point, and that's what I'm trying to say with this bump, what this bump does is it just brings me very much closer to this limit. So
for you individually.
For me, well, we're looking at the employer contribution.
Yeah.
But once I'm reaching the limit, there's no more benefit for me to pay, and so my employee contributions stop. The employer contributions, however, continue. They don't benefit me. They benefit, they go in the overall pot and help reduce any, for example, if there would be unfunded liabilities, they would reduce those. Since we don't have unfunded liabilities, we have really the opposite. We have too much money in the pot. We're adding essentially more money into this pot for that is used to pay employees' pension plans in the future.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
And what I'm saying is we should check in with PARS if once the contribution rate limit is reached, if we can actually also stop not only the employee contribution, but also the employer contribution at this time, which would take away a little bit from that benefit of increasing the overall fund.
But we just had an audit of the fund, and the fund is in great shape. So it doesn't need to be in shape that far exceeds our ability to pay.
Currently, the fund is in great shape.
Director Decker, to your point though, as far as, so if you look at this, are you on this sheet here? Can you see my mouse?
I can see, yes.
Okay, so what this is each pay period, we go through this exercise to see if we're calculating the PARS employee and the employer contributions on a monthly basis correctly, okay? So we just went through that today, actually. So what I want you to look at here is this column here, G15, the total contribution. And that's really what your spreadsheet relates, is on a on a biweekly basis, we make a total contribution to PARS for $49.69. Okay, but you're pulling this whole number, but the employer portion of it is $23.60. You're seeing the whole check going out, but when we book it though, a portion of it, it's all district money, and if you look at it from that perspective, but it's not all PARS expense. A lot of this goes through salaries and wages as far as their earnings, but then these are actual deductions from the employee's paycheck that go to pay these contributions amount. So you're seeing this number, but a portion of that is paid for by the employees.
I get that. I just am concentrating on what our budget should contain.
Agreed. But here, so once again, what you're seeing are those full amounts. So 4969.88, it was the same amount for both pay periods. But if you look at for 315 now, it was 4969.89 plus the big one, 10995.94. This was Clemens's 331 payroll. But a portion of that, as I said, the employer portion is not, so the check that you're seeing going out is not all going to be budgeted to that line item. Mm-hmm. So in terms of what does that bump represent? If we were to say, okay, looking at the 315, $23,000 to 52, that would be the major bump for a given period. So I think in terms of capturing that one bump for $3,000, I don't know if it's really beneficial to us to try to factor that one piece into it. You follow?
I follow, yeah.
Okay. But I understand your point. I said, when you're signing checks, we're just cutting the whole check out from district fund, but in reality, a portion of that is paid for by the employees.
That was really not my concern. My concern is only on the budget, and on the budget side, when we have expenditure, whether it's employee paid or employer paid, it should be reflected in the budget.
Correct. So if we were to look at, we were to look at the PARS expense for this current year. This is through 331. So we are tracking at 13,889. We're graded at 18,519. We're only off from last year, by $630.
Oh.
Okay, water, PARS. We're tracking at 30. We had a budget of 38. We're going to be a little bit above it, but like I said, we're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of interesting, just because your worksheet and spreadsheet has been pretty helpful, but for that example, I think it gets that doesn't capture the whole story.
Yeah, I understand.
But for all of them, that actually, I was thinking about it. It's been really helpful to see you do it by a vendor level, because it's usually not a perspective that I look at it at.
It's very good, yes.
Okay, telephone and internet. That's gone up quite considerably from 26, from 29. It's supposed to go to 39. So we budgeted $5,000 more for next year. Are we getting anything in return for that increase in the telephone cost, or is it just an increase from the telephone company?
25.
Well, we actually just switched to a new plan, trying to reduce. Peter, you're not taking that into account, that change. So, with telephone and internet, it just always works that way, that it gets more and more expensive until, you switch up to a new plan and start from there again. That's at least our experience.
Yeah, that's our experience too.
Did you ever try cosite.net for the internet connection?
Yeah, we have a mix, and we have coastsite.net. Yeah. So we have coastsite.net as internet connection, but we also have Xfinity as well.
We have Comcast, AT&T, A&B Communications, AT&T Mobility. Yeah, that's AT&T Mobility. You probably have everything under the sun is what we currently use.
Right. So we always, every 2-3 years hunt for the best rates. And that is what we just did on the cell phone level, which is a significant component of that. So hopefully we see the cell phone bills somewhat reduced, but I can't speak intelligently to how much that is going to impact this budget.
So coming then to the non-operating revenue, I see the line general obligation bonds.
Yep.
With the number still missing.
General obligation bonds. Hold on. Are you looking at the detail sheets?
I'm looking at the detail sheets, the non-operating budget, water enterprise. I don't see a page, but it's the detail sheets, yes.
What account?
Account 7600.
Yep, you're right.
Why don't we have the number there?
Sorry, we will. That's going to be, I have the number. Because I said this covers debt service. So what this is, thank you for that, Director Decker. On an annual basis, it should be 983,945.60. Okay. Three, 4, 6. Okay. And this represents our actual savings. So thank you for that, Director Decker. I missed it.
Well, it's actually the savings of the ratepayers, not ours.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely true. Yes, that does go 100% through the roll.
So that were my comments. Jim, do you have anything?
No. Thank you, Peter, for being so thorough.
Clemens, anything more?
Thanks for.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to focus a little bit on process. Just seeing if so we have I think a good handle on this right now. At least everything besides the main drivers. My suggestion is now that we're working on. We can get the CIPs. I think we have that portion under control, to say it this way. And we can get those numbers probably relatively quickly and update the CIP spreadsheets and can share those then with you once we get, these major updates. The other number, the water sales number, is one I think that we should work on with the full board when we bring this back to the full board. The sewer service charge number is one that is going to take some time. We usually need the commercial accounts. I think that's where we have to wait until, until beginning of May. From there, we can really take the work up with the consultant. So we should have that number, during the month of May, probably late May. I'm suggesting that we bring the draft budget up to the board at least one more time before a final approval for further input. And I'm thinking that probably the second meeting in May is a better one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and then there's one item that I'm missing. That is the item regarding the property taxes and exactly what each check is paid for.
Right.
But comment, should we bring the discussion at the next meeting possible water rate increases at the next meeting? Or just begin that discussion?
I had a hard time understanding Jim, but I heard him say something that next meeting.
Yeah, at the next meeting, shouldn't we bring up or just begin discussion of possible water rate increases, or how we're going to do it?
Well, again, my recommendation is to not implement a rate increase at this time because we went through this very heavy lifting last year. There is not really the urgency, like on a sewer, for example, on the sewer side, Jim, we have only one time when we can get the rates transferred to the county. So we have, we're under a time pressure. On the water side, we aren't. We can implement rate increases at all times. So I don't see an urgency at this point. If the board would decide that it is time now to go out for a rate increase once again, then this could be implemented so that I guess by August, September, we could have a rate increase in place if the decision is made in May. Does that make sense? So my answer is I don't see the need to have that discussion immediately, Jim. I'm fine waiting until second meeting in May.
So this discussion will be postponed 1 year.
What was that?
1 year.
Could you guys hear Jim?
I can't hear.
I can't hear you, Jim.
Should be postponed 1 year. Wait, maybe I have my hand. The discussion will be postponed 1 year.
Yeah, I think we definitely have to mention it to the full board during the presentation, and we have to, make sure that the board and the public understands, our suggestion and concern also. And I think that the board can, make this decision at, the second meeting in May.
Okay.
Okay. Can I say something?
Yes, Peter. Go ahead.
Okay. So items that I have open right now. I have property taxes. Get a handle on if they're booked properly. If any of them needs to move. Sewer service charges, CIP, sewer, and water. Those are our major open items.
Correct.
Okay. In terms of bringing an updated draft to the board for the second meeting of the month, that would be May 20th. I will not be available on that day.
Oh.
I'm going on vacation after the 17th.
That changes it. If we would bring it to the next week's meeting,
correct.
We don't have really. I don't think we'll have clarity on the big numbers yet.
Well, yeah, we may not have clarity on the big number, but what are we going to? What is the objective of bringing it to the full board one more time? Is it for? I thought it was for water sales number.
Water sales number and what we just, for example, talked about, is there a rate increase needed, yes or no?
But other than that, though, none of the other drivers are there to be discussed because we're still waiting.
Why don't we see what your availability is for our first meeting in June?
I'm there for that one. But is that going to be, that's typically when we approve.
I mean, we have to approve in June, either first or second meeting.
I would say that's typically how we've done it. There has been a year we did not approve until the first meeting in July, which actually this year comes out to be July 1, because that is the beginning of the fiscal year.
So we can have the draft presentation on the first meeting of June and the approval the second meeting of June.
We could also go to the board next week with what we have.
Part of me wants to say, like you said,
because these numbers are not final.
No.
Because I said we're only asking for their input for certain items. We can leave the whole thing up there and it can be up for debate, and that's fine. And we know our position, and we know we have responses for everything that they could throw at us. But we are looking to, and we also know where our holes are at. So, I mean, my question would be, or I guess my preference would be to go next Thursday. I will get you this new draft. I'll update based on the changes that we made. They were minor, but really my question for you guys would be for our CIP number for both water and sewer here over here. What should our placeholders be?
I think if we go next week to the board, I may be able to get by Monday preliminary water and sewer CIP suggestions.
Okay.
So if you make that decision, I would work, focused with the consultants on those drafts.
Okay.
And we could probably get those in the packet, at least the CIP numbers, and potentially also look at water and sewer CIP already next week with the consultants, if at all.
But you may not have the sewer charge.
We probably won't have
We won't have the sewer charge until really we need to approve in June or at the beginning of June.
Then why don't you do the whole thing of June? I don't see the hurry to put it in the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, it's fine with me. We can go back in June. If we have the agreement of the committee and we set it for the first meeting in June, I think we save everybody a little bit of discussion and headache.
The only thing that I think that may be a concern is that the board may get nervous that they may be expecting us to be ready to go by the first meeting in June. That's been historically when we've done it. So just answering those questions as far as where we're at.
I'm not concerned about that. I think it is more important with realistic numbers than it is to rush these things and then later on have to change it. Everybody has already signed off on it.
Okay. I think that approach will work very well.
Good.
Okay.
And if there is no further comment, I herewith declare the meeting closed.
Wait.
Right?
Sorry. Yeah, just a couple more things. I get nervous here. Okay. So once again, property taxes, we need to verify that number. Sewer service charge is going to be late. CIP, you're going to be working with our consultants, Newt and Pippins. We also have payroll COLA. Currently, we are at 2.1%. So are we comfortable with the 2.1% increase? If this were to jump to 3%, would this be a discussion item?
The number 2.1% is this based on, we always go from
April to April.
April to April. So we don't have the April number at this point is what you're saying.
Yes, correct. We're using February to February.
We're using February to February.
Yeah, they're every other month.
By the time the first week of June comes on,
We'll have it.
You'll have that number. and then we fill in that number there.
Okay. All right. Just wanting to cover bases for all the major issues that we may hit.
I appreciate it, Peter. That's very good.
Okay. All right. Those are it.
All right. Then I thank all of you very much, and I herewith declare the meeting closed.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.